Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wizard. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. So, Sergio Mims, I have recently been listening to your audio commentary tracks on the films Willie Dynamite and Sweetback's Baadasssss song. Why do you focus on Blaxploitation films? Why do you think people should pay attention to them?
Well, in terms of the Blaxploitation films, it's a genre of movies. Let me first explain what it is, or what it was. There were films started around 1970, and it pretty much faded out by late 1975. So it was a 6-year period in which films were made. They were basically exploitation movies. Cheesy B-movie exploitation films. The difference was that the heroes were black. Now, they may not seem like a big deal today, but back at the time, it was revolutionary because you rarely had black heroes. I mean, the heroes were usually white. They got the girls. They defeated the bad guy. And you never really saw that with black characters. Finally, here were black characters who were beating the bad guys. They were getting the girls or girls at the end and triumphant. And that was, in very many ways, revolutionary. In this day of Black Panther, maybe it may not seem that way, but in the 70s, it was a pretty heady trip.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, but what do you say to people who are easily offended today and say that these movies are politically incorrect?
Well, first of all, as I said in my commentaries for Sweetback and Willie Dynamite, they're very much a product of their time. The Me Too movement didn't exist. People didn't know what that was. The women's liberation movement was just in its beginning pink stages. So they were very much reflected of their time, and that's something I talk about today. A movie like Willie Dynamite could not be made today. It'd be impossible to make a movie, or that film, or The Mac, in which the hero, the lead character, is a pimp. You couldn't do that today. Times have changed. But also, I think you cannot erase the past. And also, I think it's important to see these films to see how far we've come.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy Willie Dynamite, and I love The Mac. And even Ben Gazzara, you think of the killing of a Chinese...
Is great.
Yeah, but I was just thinking as well, like Ben Gazzara in the 70s, he played the pimp with the heart of gold kind of character. In Saint Jack and The Killing of a Chinese Bookie as well. And I was wondering, you were saying it might be impossible, but
right.
do you think there could be a way to do the pimp with the heart of gold storyline today?
That is true. I should mention that in both The Mac and Willie Dynamite, both characters leave the game. They come to a revelation, that this is not the way to go. So it's not like at the end of the movie, these guys are still pimps and still exploiting women. It's not like that at all. There's definitely a change of heart. They realize they've gone the wrong way, and they realize the pain that they have caused. Yeah, these movies were very much, in terms of these two movies, were very much a morality story. Now, I'll tell you a funny story. A friend of mine wanted to borrow my copy of the Blu Ray of Sweetback because his girlfriend is currently reading a book called 1001 Movies You Must See. And Sweetback is on the list. And I think she's probably like in her 30s or so. So I loaned him the copy, and she took a look at it, and I talked to her later, and I said, well, what did you think? Well, she didn't think much of it, and she thought it was thin story-wise. And I said, well, yeah, that may be true, but you have to understand the impact that movie had when it came out. And she said, yeah, I think I do. And I said, no, you do not. You really do not. You're probably a generation removed from the extraordinary impact that Sweetback had. Yes, it was criticized. Yes, it was reviled. I distinctly remember a piece in Ebony magazine which just tore the film apart. But once again, here was a black man winning at the end.
Yeah, I think it stands the test of time. I wasn't around then, but to be I'm not going to talk about too much in detail, but the first scene, I mean, that's still going to raise some eyebrows. But I think what you're talking about is absolutely true. But I have heard, here at Carleton University when I was a film studies student, and one criticism I heard, and I'm sure you've heard as well, is that the Blaxploitation heroes are not maybe distinctly black enough, or they're interchangeable with white action stars. So what do you say to that?
Well, that's the first time I've kind of heard that criticism before.
Right.
Number two, well, once again, people who make that comment, I don't think have real knowledge of film history. As I always like to tell, well, because I taught film for a while, or film history, and I would tell people, you have to go back. Believe it or not, there was a time when films were in black and white, and even a time before that where there was no sound. You have to see all kinds of movies to appreciate characterization and how films have developed over the years. If you're going to judge a Blaxploitation movie, which I'm sure most people, much younger, have never seen, the films today, you can't do that. They may look campy today. I'm sure they do. They may seem unintentionally funny, but at the time, they were very serious. And we took them very seriously. I should also mention that what you started at the beginning, why do Blaxploitation films? Well, it really started with the first commentary I did was Penitentiary for Vinegar Syndrome. And that happened because I actually worked on the movie. And just by I was trying to get a review copy for my radio show. You have a radio show? I have a radio show.
Yeah.
And when I mentioned the Vinegar Syndrome, I had worked on the film, they asked me if I would be willing to do a commentary. And I did, because I worked on a film, and actually, there were some things I couldn't say on the commentary due to libel laws.
Yeah.
But I talked about them making, for them making on the film. I was one of the assistant directors. And then they asked me to do Sweetback. And in that commentary, I was doing more about the impact that movie had more than the making of, because that has been covered several times. And then I was approached by Arrow Films to do Willie Dynamite. Now I can tell you that I'm going to be doing some commentaries for two Kino Lorber releases. One is a black film from the 1960s. The other one is a Hollywood movie. Not a Blaxploitation film, starring a major Hollywood movie star.
Okay, well, that's a great transition, because I actually was in Los Angeles recently, and I was at the New Beverly Cinema. I saw a double bill that was Penitentiary and Welcome Home, Brother Charles. And that was fantastic. So I actually
Jamal Fanaka. Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah, that Penitentiary, that's a good movie. That was a good one. The prison boxing circuit and the dream of just...
That's right, the prison boxing. You didn't see my name at the end of the credits misspelled? Yeah. Welcome Home, Brother Charles. I was only involved with Penitentiary with Jamal Fanaka, but yes, I have seen Welcome Home, Brother Charles. And we have to tell people it's an experience. You have to see it to
I think that's absolutely correct, and I don't want to spoil the twist, if you will. Watermelon Man's actually...
No, you really do not want to spoil the film.
So Watermelon Man, I think, is just one of the all-time greatest comedies of all time. And Sweetback is a very accomplished film.
Yeah.
And so why weren't there more films by Melvin Van Peebles afterwards?
Well, he did films his own way. Right. He did Watermelon Man for Columbia Pictures, his only studio project. It was not a great experience. He decided to go on his own, and he made Sweetback. And he did do one or two other movies, a few other films independently, but he is a real Renaissance person. I mean, he's also a musician. He's a playwright. For a couple of years, he was a stockbroker. He even wrote a book about that. He's one of these persons who really follows follow the beat of his own drum. If it's not filmmaking here, it's the start market over here, it's playwriting over here. It's not just one thing. He is a true Renaissance man.
Yeah, like Orson Welles he complained that he spent too much of his life just trying to raise money for movies, and he was never going to get it. So maybe you should listen to Melvin Van Peebles.
But yeah, Melvin Van Peebles, who's still very much with us today. I believe he's almost 90 now, if I'm not mistaken. But he has an extraordinary life, and I've had the pleasure to meet him a few times. Even had dinner with him. He's quite a character. You should interview him one day.
Oh my!
He's something else.
That would be an honor. Like I said, Watermelon Man, I think, is one of the funniest movies ever, and Sweetback is it's my favorite Blaxploitation, and I'm a huge fan of the genre, so it's saying a lot for me. But Siskel and Ebert was.
Yeah, I'm happy to say that those movies are being discovered.
Yeah.
By a new generation. I'm really happy about that, and some are coming out on Blu Ray. Mm-hmm. I know this month, Warner Archive has just released Cleopatra Jones on Blu Ray.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, they're being discovered. People are realizing, I think younger filmmakers are realizing here are these really extraordinary pictures. I think because they have been devalued for so long. And I'll tell you something else, too. This is interesting. One of my absolute favorite Blaxploitation films, which badly needs a Blu-ray release, and I would love to do the commentary for, is Three the Hard Way.
Oh, yeah.
With Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, and Jim Kelly.
Right.
And here's the premise, folks. It's about three black friends who find out that this white supremacist who has this paramilitary organization plans to kill all the black people in the United States by poisoning the water supply.
Oh, my God.
With a disease that will only kill black people. Now, when I wrote about that a couple years ago, the comments I got were, this was ridiculous. This is stupid. Who could think of such a thing? Well, comes along Donald Trump and Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller. And I republished that article. I reposted it. And then it became, oh, my God, when was this movie made? It was like it was made last year. Oh, duh.
So Siskel and Ebert, we all know that show. It was a fantastic show. It really put Chicago on the map as a hot spot for film critics. So I'm just wondering, what is the film criticism scene like in Chicago right now that both men have passed on?
Oh, well, first of all, it's huge. We follow in their footsteps. As a matter of fact, there's even the Chicago Film Critics Association, and next month, which I'm a member of, but next month there is the 7th Annual Chicago Film Critics Film Festival. It's a festival, international festival. It's held for about 8 days. It takes place next month from May 17th to the 23rd, and it's programmed by members of the Film Critics Association. Films that we have seen that have not been released yet. Films that have been shown at Sundance or at South by Southwest or Toronto, or films members of us have seen at other venues before their theatrical release. And it takes place next month, and I said, this is the 7th year for this festival. A lot of major films are going to be shown. A lot of major talent is coming, involved in the movies, directors, actors. And but like you said, we follow in the footsteps of Siskel and Ebert. They paved the way. There are many. I don't even know how many. As a matter of fact, there's so many members in the Chicago Film Critics Association that now a rival association has been formed. Film criticism scene here in Chicago is very strong and very vibrant and very opinionated.
I heard once Mark Lamont Hill. He was talking on the Breakfast Club on Power 105, and he was talking about he had just been fired by CNN for being critical of Israel, and he was saying how it was a little annoying for him that he's got this knowledge on the Middle East and other things, but every time CNN called, it was to talk about another unarmed black man getting gunned down. So I was wondering, what other kind of films do you like talking about? Maybe from the 70s or from wherever. What What other genres or eras are you passionate about?
I am my favorite genre is the Western.
Nice.
I love Western. And particularly of my generation, movies of the 60s and the 1970s. But I like all kinds of films. And that's why even though I am black, I am African American, even though I have done commentary for a couple of black movies, I've always felt that I want to expand my, just don't put me in this black box. I can do commentary for all kind of movies. So when Kino approached me about doing commentaries a few weeks ago, they sent me a list. And there were no black films on the list, but I said, yes, I want to do this picture from 1965. I want to do this film from 1966 because I've seen these pictures more than once, and I know these pictures, and I know the directors and who stars in them. And that's what I want to do because I can do anything because I've been seeing films all my life.
Who are some contemporary black filmmakers that you like right now?
Top of my list has to be Barry Jenkins. Who did Moonlight.
Yeah.
And this extraordinary film he did came out last year, Beale Street Could Talk.
Mm-hmm.
I am really impressed with particularly with his new film, Jordan Peele with Us. I thought Get Out was overrated. I've kept saying that. I said, it's okay. It's not all that. But with Us, he has really stepped up his game and really has pushed himself as a director. And I think the middle hour of that movie is some absolutely bravura filmmaking. I'm very curious to see what Ava DuVernay is going to do with her new Netflix series on the Central Park 5, that infamous case. There was a really great documentary by Ken Burns, but this is a more personal, dramatic series about it. I'm very curious to see what she's going to do about that. Those are three right at the top of my head. One director who I think has a lot of potential is a young director by the name of Justin Warren. He made a really fabulous comedy called And Then There Was Joe, which is an independent movie, which is, I think, extremely funny. And I think he's got the goods. He wrote the film, he directed the film, and also co-stars in the picture. So look out for him. The film is now available. I think it's a website, Then There Was Joe. He has decided to market the film himself, and he turned down all distribution offers for the movie. So good for him. One of the really great things, Boots Riley, who did last year.
Sorry to Bother You. Yeah.
The great thing about the new generation of filmmakers who are coming today is that they're not following the rules. There was a time, the time was if you were a black filmmaker, then you were in a box and you had either do this movie or this kind of movie or that kind of movie. And each filmmaker I just mentioned is doing something completely different. They're saying that we're going to follow our own interests, our own voice. We're not just going to be, just because we're black filmmakers means that we have to be stuck with the old, as I like to say, okey doke. We want to explore new venues. We want to explore new ideas. Things are wide open, and there are black sci-fi films being developed right now, and I know there's a black musical being developed right now, and so it's like this whole world has exploded, and it's different, and I think it's very exciting.
Yeah. So Blaxploitation, to me, what really stands out the most, what I always remember the most, is the soundtracks. So what is your favorite Blaxploitation soundtrack? Oh, yeah.
I think James Brown's score for Black Caesar, I think, is tremendous.
That's a good pick.
I think it's one of the best soundtracks ever. It's it is a masterpiece of a soundtrack. That one, and of course, Curtis Mayfield's soundtrack for Superfly, cannot be beat. And the great thing about these soundtracks is that they play today. They're not dated. They play today. They're just as vibrant and as exciting and as funky as back then as they are today.
Yeah, I DJ soundtracks as well, and I love playing the Blaxploitation ones. Those are a good time. And Down and Out in New York City by James Brown. For anyone who's spent time in a major city, that is just that encapsulates any those tough days. That is a classic track. All right, so Sergio Mims, thank you so much for your time, and can you tell us what your plans are for the immediate future?
Sure thing. Yeah, I'm currently right now watching. That's what I've been doing. Watching and programming films for the Black Harvest Film Festival in Chicago. It's one of the largest black film festivals, not only in the country but in the world. In Chicago, it's the entire month of August. As I said, held at the Gene Siskel Film Center, the Art Institute of Chicago. This year is our 25th year. 25 years. And I've been with it since the very beginning. People have come and gone, but I'm still here. And it's really around this time, April, May, and June, when things get really heavy. And films start coming in, the submissions start coming in, and this is our 25th year. We got some major plans for tributes and particular big names who we plan to bring in. This is going to be huge this year. But it's a heavy load, and that's where I'm in the thick of it right now.
All right, well, I'm going to tell everyone in the Ottawa area to check out your commentary tracks, your writing, and your radio. Thank you so much.